book weather speaks, his voice like a stream through valleys of sorrow, through Ella's dream. The candles burn low, the night stretches wide, a tale of a princess, a love she can't hide. Oh, Ella, her heart's in a cage, bound by a crown and her father's rage. She waits for the dawn, for the stars above. Will someone come? Will someone bring love? Her suitors brought gold, their banners held high, but love can't be bought, though many may try. The king in his pride, he turned them away. Ella still waits for her own chosen day. Through the book's worn pages, the story does flow. The book feather whispers what only he knows. Oh, Ella, her heart's in a cage, bound by a crown and her father's rage. She waits for the dawn, for the stars above. Will someone come? Will someone bring love? The moon hears her cries, the wind feels her tears. The forest stands a witness to all of her fears. The book feather pauses, the room holds its breath. Each word carries hope, each word fights her death.
He sat for another few minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Then discreetly checked his watch again. Time seemed to have slowed down. Giddy. All right.
Should have waited and called in again.
Ow! My head just came off.
Seems quiet. Too quiet.
It felt more like 25 minutes to have passed, not 5.
I'm Batman. Gotham is never safe without me.
Hey, Red, does this hurt? Oh! Okay, the best
Some
part is...
reinforcement, please.
What the hell just happened?
Red thought he was fancy.
What time is it? It's 7 o'clock. Okay, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hunger gnawed at him.
You can attach towers? Shut up.
I've been trying to practice my glamoring. Look at me. Ooh.
Impromptu performance this evening, which I must say was indeed a welcome distraction.
And he decided that if she allowed him to use the bathroom to pee, then she probably wouldn't stop him from using the kitchen.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. You're very kind. This is going to be funny.
Hello. I forgot to run ads before starting. So this might be awkward for some of you. I know. It's just... Sometimes you remember everything and sometimes you forget to play ads. It's fine. It's no big deal, all right? Forget about it. Renato! Congratulations on claiming another first place. Bravo, sir. Purple. Grabbing almost first. Very just well-deserved. Good job indeed. And I did go get fish and chip tacos.
Mm-hmm. I'm proud of you, you know that. I hope you do.
I do. Most of the time, I do. But I ate them because they tasted good. So, sorry, none to share. Chew! You big, beautiful book-reading bastard. I am doing well. God, pufferfish. Gets me every frickin' time. Forgot what I was going to say. Other than to fix the stupid HUD effects. I swear, I love it, but I feel like it has to be told what to do all the time. Anyway, lovely to see you all. Thank you for those streaks. Lovely. Corgi, almost second. Well done. Love it. You're so shellfish. I know. Xenos, hello. How are ya? I hope everyone's doing well. I really do. Oh, right. I'll say this again before we end stream, but after we finish this wonderful story, which I'll be sad when we do, but when that time comes, I'm going to put a pause on the book reading. You heard me. Put a pause. Doing well, just crotcheting away. You enjoy your crotcheting. I'm going to spend a little bit of time just strictly playing games on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. You're going to put pause on the book reading? Time to get into furry stuff, huh? No, just games. Why is the next song not playing? Why do you do this to me? We're going to remove you. So yeah. I don't know for how long. I do this every so often when I feel like it's time to take a break. You know, kind of refresh the mindset on the book reading. Give myself a moment to step away from it so that I can come back to it, if that makes sense. Plus, there's lots of gaming that I've been neglecting that I would like to do. Like, we still have lots of roadcraft to do. There's lots of hell diving to be done. There's new stuff in American Truck Simulator that I haven't touched. I haven't even set up the steering wheel on this new PC yet. I was generously given a key for Arc, so I have that installed now. I haven't played it yet, but I have it. So, you know, all those fun things, I would like to actually take some time after we finish this story to get into them. So, yeah. Need to finish that bridge? Exactly. Need to finish it or you'll never get over it. Okay. This is your castle for tonight. If I had to live at a castle, I would say that one looks pretty darn good. It's right by the water. Yep. I'd be all right with that. Now I want a castle. Having my own house is great, but now I want a castle. Alas, I don't think I'm going to get a castle, but that's okay. It is what it is. And you'll never burn that bridge after you cross it? Exactly. Mainly because it's made of concrete. It'd have to be really hot to burn concrete. Maybe if we got a couple of Teslas together and lit them on fire. Psh, castle. Get yourself a bunker made inside an old ICBM silo. Actually, that's kind of a fun idea. The internet would need to be at the very top, though, because signals and stuff. Well, you know, semantics. We'll figure out the details. Yeah. Well, you build a normal house on top. The secret home. Right. Gotcha. I started a couple minutes early because I also want to get in a couple of wheel spins before we start reading and racing. So let me spin the wheel of gains. Let's spin it real good.
No weight squats x10.
No weight squats times 10.
Streamer picks x10.
Ooh, I get to pick. And one more.
Weighted squats x5.
Weighted squats. Doing lots of squats today. All right. So we've got 5 squats with weight, 10 squats without, and then 10 of whatever I choose. Sounds good. And yes, I'm wearing pajama pants. Guess we'll just do some arm stuff. Five of those. And now we'll do The no weighted squats, which stop it. Probably make me feel like I'm gonna fall backwards because we lost the weights. Here we go. That's not too bad. Yeah. Nailed it. I need to talk to you folks about these following cameras. I might need to get one for work so I can pace and have a whiteboard. I will send you the link if you like to the one I got. I'll do that right meow. Oh, let's see. Because it's nice because it follows your face, so that's the only thing to keep in mind. So if you, well, I'll demonstrate in a second. Camera. There it is. Share. Copy. Discord. Look for Chew. And paste. All right, there you go. So, yes, it's the OBS bot camera. And I'm a big fan because you can use hand signals to control it. So if I go like this, it zooms in on my face. And if I do this again, it goes back to regular. But while I'm standing up, if I go like this, it just kind of tracks my whole persona. It doesn't just use my face. So I can go like this. And then I can bring it back. And of course, there's an app that you could download for the desktop that allows for you to, figure out your positioning and how zoomed in you're going to start with and all that kind of stuff. So it's a pretty good one. And it wasn't like egregious as far as the cost. It wasn't too bad. Yes. Sounds like Xenos is familiar. This is the year of random tech upgrades. Nothing wrong with that. I forgot to take the lid off of my tea, so that's going to be piping hot. Piping hot, I tell you. Oh, and on Thursday, if Helldivers is happening again, I have... Chew's seen this already, but I have a brand new music video for the Starting Soon specifically for Helldivers. And it's awesome. First, OBS Botcam. Next, Raspberry Pi, and 15-inch touchscreen to make a family calendar. Ooh. Nice. You do it, man. You do it. One of the streamers I mod for uses it for their PC builds. It's a good camera. Have I had occasional hiccups with it? Yes. But they've always been easy to kind of, reset, bring back to regular programming, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, overall, I've been pretty happy with it. All right, let's test the tea. And then we'll read. Don't go around wearing shirts with faces on it. You might get confused.
Oh my god.
That's
oh my god.
very possible.
K's here. K's here. K is here. K is in my stream. K's here. Oh my god. K. Hi, K. Hi. Okay. Stay calm. Breathe. Hi, K.
Hello, Kay. We haven't started the marble races, so you're good. That's, yep. Is there like a tea making competition? Asking for a friend? Just ended your show? Awesome. How did it go? Good recording session, I hope? If there is, it feels like it would be either British or somewhere in Asia. Yeah, I don't think it's happening here in Iowa. It was live and it was great. Fantastic. I love that for you. I really do. I think it's awesome. So you'll notice above my head, I have put the current first, second, and third place finishers so far. And just as a reminder, Kay and Dry both have first place finishes. Stem Mama's Mama and Phoenix with second, Verticat and Purple Pookie with third. But that was only the first two races. We have more to go. Like, right meow. So, if you want to be on the winner board and collect points for a little prize at the end of the month, now's your time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. We are starting Chapter 7 tonight. I appreciate you. Please sit back, relax. Don't forget to marble race. And I completely forgot to add a noise for a ding for, you know, the race starting. Yep. Mad Locust, hello. Purple, when you get a second, can you please DM me and just remind me to add a sound for the race countdown so that I can make sure I have some sort of audible alert that isn't just me going, hey, 60 seconds on the clock. Starts right now. Hello, Corgi. Why shout out? Because I made it automatic. Deal with it. Okay. Chapter 7, here we go. Ayla looked up from embroidering the collar of a tiny shift for her baby and stretched her back. Sybil continued sewing. Deep in concentration, the maid's tongue licked her lower lip with every push of the needle into the tapestry. A skein of sunlight beamed through the lattice window panes into the tall room, brightening the rushes strewn on the floor. The light glinted on Evander's wedding ring, hugging Ayla's finger. A continual reminder of her duty. She rolled her warm band of gold around her finger with her thumb. Well, that duty had been done. And according to the witch, she carried a son. She rubbed a gentle hand on her lower abdomen and allowed her face to soften. Granted that she didn't get on with the babe's father, she already loved the little mite growing inside her. In a little over 2 months, she'd have a son to look after. The baby moved, and Ella bit her bottom lip. Her mother had died during childbirth. Would she survive bringing her child into the world? Would she have the pleasure of raising the babe? Would Evander change his attitude once he had a son? She hoped so, because deep down she was sure they could be happy together. Oh, Ayla. She's always glass permanently full, not even half. Poor kid. On the few occasions they spent away from the castle, he'd been talkative, explaining the kingdom to her. They'd even shared the same room in her father's palace. Well done, Lady Kay. My son is coming in, so I need to mute up. No worries. Next map. The Saber. 60 seconds on the clock. Good luck. Ding! If only she could get between him and the queen. Oh, by the way, ball number 7. It's hard to tell, but that's actually a mermaid skin, which I thought was very relevant to tonight's book, or the current book we're on. So I nabbed it. Just thought I'd mention that. His Highness the Prince may change once the babe is here, Sybil said as if she could read her mistress's mind. The maid's comments broke Ayla's train of thought. She eyed her lady-in-waiting and met Sybil's gaze. He's doing this for your own good, Ayla. Do you honestly believe that? Sybil bit her lower lip and stopped sewing. Ayla had her answer. Sybil might be a maid to wait on the royal family, but the woman was no fool. Sybil, Ayla asked after a moment. Yes? What goes on in the tower? The young woman raised her head in a flash. No one ever goes up there. But you know. Ayla locked eyes with her maid. There must be talk among the servants. Sybil discarded her sewing and rubbed her hands on her gown. What do you know about the woman up there, Sybil? Why? Why do you ask? Because I went up there. The maid's face drained of all color. Why didn't you tell me about her, Sybil? I've been here for almost 7 months and you never once mentioned her. Sybil dropped her head and took in a long, deep breath while Ella bit down her disappointment. I thought we shared everything, Ayla continued, her voice soft, almost fragile. Sybil stared down at her hands. It never crossed my mind to mention it. I thought Prince Ovander or the Queen would have told you. You are, after all, part of the royal family. Besides, we all have orders to stay away from that part of the castle. Ayla pulled her head back and looked up in silent prayer. From now on, I want to know everything about this place. Absolutely everything. I only have you. Sybil shifted uneasy in her seat. I don't know who the woman is or where she comes from. She already lived here when I arrived. Surely one of the other servants must know, Ayla said, exasperation seeping through her words. There are a few rumors. That's the problem when no one knows anything for sure. And what do the rumors say? Sybil picked at some imaginary fluff on her skirt. It said, the witch is the queen's mother. Ayla's eyes widened. Don't tell me you believe that. I'm only repeating what goes around in the servants' quarters, Sybil replied. But you know what they say. There's no smoke without fire. or no race without Chu winning it. Well done, Chu. I can't tell you how many times I want to click join just out of habit. But so far, I've been able to, not do that. Oh, next race is starting. Ding. Bing.
Next race.
A knot formed in Ayla's stomach. Yea, thank you. It was due to my years of practice and dedication to hard marbling. Yes. Yes. Just like in the mines when you get the black lung. In marble racing, you get the glass eye. It's terrible, terrible disease. A knot formed in Ayla's stomach. The witch couldn't possibly be the queen's mother. King Lucan would never have married anyone unnoble, and her father would never have allowed her match with Ovander if Thalia hadn't been of noble birth. And what do you know of the queen? Ayla asked. Nothing, apart from what's said by the servants. Ayla sighed, and we all know we can't always believe those rumors. But I did speak once with the Queen's lady-in-waiting. And? The maid cleared her throat. According to Hilda, the Queen is the King's second cousin. They've known each other for a long time, and they wed so the King would have a strong support. Dude married his cousin. That actually sounds pretty sick. Like ore from the dark crystal, the ultimate marble racer, using her glass eye. She can see the track. I don't know why I just went, but I did. And now I've done it twice. Moving on. Ayla couldn't believe that. Thalia had enough character to rule a regiment. Then again, giving power to his queen might suit the king. What if it had been a clause in their marriage agreement? Maybe the king's parents had chosen a strong-minded spouse for their introverted son in order for the kingdom to be ruled properly. She held back a chuckle. Perhaps they were a good match after all. And in finding someone to deal with matters, the king had gradually allowed his wife to be more and more independent. And that's all you know? Ayla asked, pushing her thoughts away. It was very Zoolander of you. It's like the final face that he makes. It's like a... And then the crowd goes wild. But not because of me, because purple came first. In race 3. Well done, Pookie. Alright, race 4 is warming up. Get your marbles in there. Did I just lose my place? Gosh darn it. Oh, right. And that's all you know, Ayla asked, pushing her thoughts away. It's because we turned the page and I didn't recognize where we were. That's all Hilda told me, and 'tis not my business to pry. Sybil was right. The royal family's ins and outs didn't concern the maid. It didn't concern her either. But what bothered her the most was the old witch in the tower. I need a bit of fresh air, Ayla said, standing slowly, and I haven't seen Nova for a while. I'll take her an apple if I'm allowed past the guard. Sybil let out an amusing chuckle. Of course you'll be allowed to pass the guard. From the fruit bowl on the table, Ayla chose a large apple and slid it into her arm's purse before leaving the room. At the bottom of the stairwell, with a hand on the hilt of his sword, Bodis filled the doorway to the courtyard. Not that his presence surprised her. Who else would the royal family have chosen to keep a close eye on her? The hunter stood aside and Ayla shot him a quick look. Once or twice, while walking in the courtyard, she peeked over her shoulder. Bodis remained put, his eyes scrutinizing her every move. A smell of horses and hay lingered in the air when Ayla stepped inside the musty stables. And probably some dung. She trailed her fingers along the wall, enjoying the feel of the uneven bricks. Rustling from the far end of the stables made her lips curl upwards. No doubt Nova had sensed her presence and was waiting for her mistress. The rustling grew louder as Ayla continued walking. Rustling that was nothing to do with horses stamping on straw. When soft giggles mingled with heavy breathing, I'm breathing, bruv, alright? Mingled with heavy breathing, any fool knew someone was having fun in the hayloft. Ayla's mouth cracked into an envious smile. Well done, Purple. Yes, she really wants to win, I can tell. But can the streak remain? Going into race 5, we'll find out. I love it when you do that, Ovi. Ayla's smile turned into a gape. I know you do, Caitlin. The woman giggled. Holding her breath, Ayla tiptoed backwards and hurried out of the stables, swearing under her breath. It took all her might to hold back the urge to scream. Humiliation tightened her chest, making it difficult for her to breathe. She'd been suspicious when Ovander came to see her one morning with a bandaged hand, claiming he'd been bitten by a horse. That suspicion was now confirmed. It had been Ovander in the forest with his beloved Caitlin. That's what he'd called the woman. Ayla's eyes filled with tears of anger. The person who she'd envied that night was her husband's mistress. Did that mean the prince was capable of loving? Or was it simply lust? Everyone knew men had mistresses, even royalty. But she never thought it would have happened so quickly. And what about the queen? Did she know about this? The baby kicked, reminding her to calm down. She swallowed down her disappointment and headed back to the castle where Bodis still stood in the doorway. Ayla pushed past him, ignoring his questioning look, her mind lost in the words of her husband had said to his mistress. Had the man no shame? Hoisting up her skirts to mount the spiral staircase, Ayla ground her teeth. If Ovander thought she'd sit pretty looking after their child while he went off gallivanting with his lady love, he had another thing coming. Oh, here we go. Ayla's rolling up her sleeves. Let's go. When the baby arrived, and once she was strong enough to travel, she'd leave Lucania and head back to her father in exactly 2.5 months. I don't think that's going to happen. Purple with another win. Wow. Chew. You want to check Purple's event files and see if there's anything suspicious? Race number 6, starting soon. Hey, now you just wait a minute. For now, she had to be patient. The man was no fool. He'd sensed the abyss growing in their relationship, and no way would he let her out of his sight. He needed his heir. And she'd become his prisoner, so to speak. Ayla entered her room, screaming out her fury. Then, grabbing the apple from her alms purse, she slammed it on the table, upsetting the grapes from the bowl. You shaking your finger? Good. What's up? Sybil asked, hurrying to Ayla's side and observing the trembling fruit. Where do I begin? Ayla replied, and thrust a knife through the apple. And that is also the end of the chapter. Well, well, well. Evander, Evander, Evander. I can guarantee you that Thalia, the queen, couldn't care less. Well, I guess I can't say guarantee, but very much a strong suspicion. A hunch, if you will. Called it? Yes, you did. And I was like, no, surely she would have recognized him. Boy, was I wrong. All right, chapter 8 is but a few pages. We should be able to get that and then run the next set of ads before they start. Chapter 8 on page 61, exclamation point kingdom, by the way, to find this book and many others written by Joe Saunders, many of which, or I think over half of them we have read on this stream at some point in the past few years. Fubar, hello, whispers hello. Hello, Fubar. Chapter 8. Oh, Ayla, I have to go. Sybil rushed into the princess's chambers, red-faced and out of breath. Ayla struggled up from the window seat and placed her hands on the small of her back. At 8 months pregnant, she felt as round as a planet, and just as heavy. The past months had gone by in a blur of eating, walking, and sleeping, and her bump continued to expand, making all movement sluggish. What is it, Sybil? It's my father. He's had an accident. The maid's voice rose in panic. He fell off his horse and he's in bad shape. The Queen has just informed me. Then you must go. Sybil clenched and unclenched the folds of her gown. The babe will be here in a month. Who will tend to you? Ayla took Sybil's hands in hers. You'll be back in a few days. Or even if you need to stay a week, you'll still be back in time for the birth. Are you sure? Of course I'm sure. Ayla hoped her voice sounded convincing, because deep down she feared her maid might not return for the birth. Sybil closed her eyes and let out a deep sigh. I hate to leave you, but my father has no one else to care for him. Stop fretting. I'm in good hands. She had to be strong and avoid showing her fear. Sybil's father needed his daughter at his bedside, and the poor woman needed to be reassured that all would go well during her absence. The Queen has even asked the midwife to reside here until the birth, she added. Ah, Kay coming in and snuffing out Purple's winning streak. Well done. But will it be enough? Only time will tell. Race number 7, countdown right now. But still nothing. Collect your belongings and go to your father. I will be fine. With an encouraging smile, Ayla squeezed her maid's hands and Sybil left the room. Alone with her thoughts, Ayla exhaled slowly. Sybil's father lived in one of the neighboring villages, no more than a 15-minute horse ride. But if the man was seriously ill, Sybil would be away for longer than a few days. Ayla hurried to the window and peered out through the leaded panes. Her maid rode away with Bodis for escort, and her vision blurred when they crested the hill. Poor Sybil. With closed eyes, Ayla sent a silent prayer to the Lord, asking him to protect Sybil's father and grant him a hasty recovery. Then, turning from the window, she made the sign of the cross and walked slowly to the bed where she lay to relieve her back. Loud voices rose from the banqueting hall, and Ayla stirred lazily. The household was gathering for the evening meal. She must have slept for longer than she'd intended. A few moments later, she descended to the next floor where Ovander and his family sat in their usual places. She took the seat next to her husband and waited to be served. Now and again, she gazed over at the table where Sybil should be eating. Ovander spoke about hunting and high hopes his parents had for his heir. He never once looked in her direction. The prince didn't want to share anything with her. A loud guffaw from the end table, and Ayla emerged from her daze. Bodis had entered the room. He gave a curt nod of the head in... I can read. I swear. He gave a curt nod of the head in the direction of the queen and took his place with the other men, where he downed a goblet of wine. I would really like to know how many ounces we suspect a goblet holds. Something tells me it's not like an 8-ounce cup. If anyone wishes to Google that, I'd be very curious. Queen Thalia turned to Ayla. You need to eat more, my dear, she said, waving over a servant. You're eating for 2 and must care for 2. The kingdom needs a healthy baby. Vesper Obscure, hello. You bet it's 20 ounces? I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised. It's got to be a decent amount. Goblet. I still wish we used that terminology, because it just sounds good. 1 goblet of your finest, please. Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to dinner. Would you like the whole bottle of wine or just a goblet? Zarias! I love that fish one. It cracks me up every time. There's a cool puzzle waiting for you, Zarias. Look. It's a castle. Overlooking the ocean. This is what Google AI said. A goblet can hold a wide range of ounces, but a common size is around 14 to 16 ounces. Goblets are available in various sizes, such as 10, 12, 13.5, 14, and 16.25 ounces, depending on the specific product and intended use. Interesting. So definitely more than 8, but not quite 20. So, a cup to 2 cups. Well, purple's back at winning again. Well, I guess it was only 2 of you. So, one of you had to win. Interesting. Thank you for looking that up. But still, if it was like the 14 to 16 ounce goblet and they just downed it, I mean, that's a lot of drink. Race number 8, 60 seconds on the clock. I have lost my place. Right, healthy baby.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part. I'm doing my part too.
Oh, Redthorn. You silly goose. Welcome in. Such a card, I know. On actual Helldiver days, I hate it. Because, well, obvious reasons. Ayla bowed her head to please her mother-in-law, but right now, she couldn't face eating. I've asked Cook to prepare something special for you on the midwife's orders. Thalia continued. You need to be strong for the birth. I remember eating the same when I gave birth to my children. A servant set a bowl of steaming potage in front of the princess. The soup scented the air with a delicious smell of herbs. Eat up, my dear. It will do you good. Ayla brought the bowl to her lips and took a sip of the thick soup, pleasantly surprised at its bittersweet flavor. It's delicious, she said, taking more mouthfuls. Queen Thalia nodded and returned to talk with her lady-in-waiting. More dishes were presented, but Ayla couldn't face anything more. The potage had sated her. She sat back, both hands cupped under her abdomen. The baby dug its feet under Ayla's ribs, making her jump. She rubbed her hand over the hardened bump, only to have the baby press hard on her bladder. So inconsiderate children are. God. She sat up straight and rubbed her lower back, which had suddenly started to ache. Are you all right? The queen asked. Ayla nodded. Just the baby moving. Thalia smiled and continued eating. A few minutes later, another stomach cramp had Ayla clutching herself. The pain receded after a few seconds, but it had been enough to shake her. Are you sure all is well? The queen asked. The princess was about to answer when another jab from an imaginary dagger dug into her, making her double over. Ayla's voice caught in her throat when her waters trickled down the inside of her legs. I think it could be the baby, but it's too soon. The queen stood in a flash. You, she said, pointing to the maid, take the princess to her room. And you, she called, pointing to another young woman, go fetch the midwife and tell her to go to the princess's chambers. Mother, Ovandra called. Well done, Corgi. Nothing to worry about, my love. Ayla is having contractions. If all goes well, your son will be here within the next few hours. The king clutched his son's arm. Come, let the women do what they must. All we men can do is wait. The king ushered his son to the door of the banqueting hall. "We can talk over a drink in my room." Ovander left with his father while Ayla, helped by a young maid, waddled to the entrance. Another pang, and she came to a sudden halt. No way could she make it to her rooms. "Brutus!" the queen called. "Please help the princess to her chambers." "But..." Thalia shook the folds of her emerald gown in a gesture to end Ayla's protests. The hunter approached and, without a word, lifted Ayla in his arms. He carried her to her room, ignoring the young woman's cursing with each oncoming contraction. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes Chapter 8. She's gonna have a baby. She's gonna have a baby. Na na na. Na na na. Alright. I'm going to start this race, and then I'm going to run ads before we continue with the next chapter. Phoenix, hello. Welcome in. How are you? Run, ads. Run. Wait a second. I am quite confused. Are your ads running? Then you should go and catch them. I will. And they will feel the wrath of the Bookfather. I had a whole event set up for shoutouts. And it was working before. And now it is gone. What in the actual F? Like the whole thing has changed. What the? How does that even happen? This isn't even the same event that... What? I am so confused. My whole event setup in Firebot has completely switched. I had two set up. One for the Platinum Squad, stream team, and then another one to shout out everybody else. Both of those are gone, and something else is in its place. What the hell? Huh. Well, that's confusing. Richard, what did you do? Tacky Corgi with the win. Well done. Well, I must say I'm rather perplexed. I'm going to have to do it all again. I manually inputted every single person that comes in here that I know streams, so that when they typed in chat, it would give them a shout out, just like that one did for Corgi. "40 seconds to get your marble on the track, folks." I just made an edit to the one that was now there to make it work again for the Platinum Squad, because that one's easy to do. But, yeah, I don't understand. I'm going to have to do it again, obviously. Not right now, of course. Well, that really sucks. That's not fair. That's not fair at all. I didn't deserve that. Oh, such good tea. I can't even tell you. And I noticed it because, Phoenix, you typed in chat, but your shout out didn't work, which is why I checked Firebot. And that's when I realized it wasn't working. So, everybody, click on Phoenix's name and give them a follow. That was an order, by the way. Right. Well, thanks again, technology, for letting me down. Chapter 9, page 65, goes a little something like this. Three long hours had passed since Ayla had felt her first contraction. Clad in a loose white nightgown and propped against huge soft cushions, Ayla grit her teeth through each contraction, refusing to scream out in front of the queen. Thalia had insisted on being present for the delivery of the royal heir. I'm sure she had. A maid wiped Ayla's forehead with a clean, dry cloth, while the midwife examined her under a linen sheet. The baby wasn't due until the beginning of June, not for another month. But the child had decided to enter the world earlier. Ayla only hoped the newborn would be all right. Although she tried to reassure herself, Ayla couldn't forget that her own mother had died giving birth. What if she had taken after her mother? What if she perished too? But then, she was only half mermaid. Surely that made a difference? Oh look, purple. Are we shooketh? We are notteth. Almost click join. 60 seconds on the clock. It's your lucky ball. Excellent. Once the races are over, you should pocket that and take it with you. Another contraction sent her wailing. Was that pain normal? Or did it mean she would die? Or that the child would? Or even both of them? "The babe will soon be here, my lady. the midwife reassured her. Imagine the joy of holding him. Ayla bore a brave face and swallowed down a scream as she attacked. As she arched her back in contortion, she stretched out a hand and clasped the edge of the bed. Courage, my lady, the midwife said, patting Ayla's arm. 'Twill not be long now. It will not, twill it? 'Twill not. Ayla brought her chest up and glimpsed at the soiled linen the midwife removed from under the bedsheet. Queen Thalia looked on, her face void of any expression. A final push, and the babe entered the world with an energetic wail. It's a boy, the midwife cried. Of course it is, the midwife chided. We knew that. Eyes squeezed shut, Ayla shed tears of relief. Her efforts had been rewarded with an heir. The midwife separated the child from the mother with the snip of a small pair of shears, then handed the baby to the maid. Ayla relaxed until she grabbed the midwife's arm and gazed down at the sheets. 'Tis naught to worry about. The midwife placed her hand over of the princess's. 'Tis the afterbirth. Ayla nodded and pushed gently one last time as another maid entered the room with a pitcher of steaming water and fresh linen towels, ready to clean all traces of birth. Queen Thalia stood at the foot of her bed, a slow smile spreading across her face. Maybe that smile was because Kay had just won. If I had a turtle shell marble in real life, that would be amazing. I'm sure there's someone on Etsy that could probably make it for you. For the right price, of course. The clock is ticking for race number 12. Get your balls in there. A slow smile spread across her face. One Ayla didn't like. The maid swaddled the baby and gently handed the small bundle to the princess. The child is strong and has been safely delivered, the midwife added, removing the soiled linen. Ayla gazed at her son as she was suddenly filled with contradictory emotions. She was exhausted from the contractions and efforts of trying to expulse the child. Yet, overwhelmed that she just pushed this amazing little person into the world, and was still alive. A rush of love and protection flooded her. He was perfect. A light duvet covered his little head. Long lashes fringed his dark eyes. Ayla had heard women speak of maternal instinct and immediate love. They were so right. She kissed the top of the baby's soft head and looked up at her mother-in-law. I want to call him Arden. How ridiculous, the queen spat. He's to be named Ovander after his father. Thalia's words flared in the princess's brain. Take the baby away, the queen continued. The princess needs to rest. But I want to hold him, Ayla begged, clinging onto the babe. You've just given birth, my dear. Thalia softened her tone. You're exhausted. It's best you rest. I want to feed him. We have a wet nurse for that. But he's mine, Ayla shouted, hugging her baby tighter. He is not yours, Thalia hissed. He is the future king. I am his mother, Ayla insisted, caressing the top of Arden's head with her cheek. Of course you are. That's why you need to rest. Ayla gazed from the babe to the queen. You can see him later. When later? When I say so. Damn. Hurt curled around the princess like a rope ready to strangle. The queen's gaze never left hers, piercing and dominant. Ayla was the first to look away, too weak to protest. Redthorn wasn't too weak. He broke through, took over Purple, and came in first. But is it too little too late? Difficult to say. With only 4 races to go, it's going to be difficult to remove Purple from her throne of first place. But y'all can try. A heavy mist fell over her, and all of a sudden, Ayla's stomach let out a loud gurgle. She raised her heavy eyelids and swallowed hard. An acidic taste had formed in her mouth, in what must have been bile. I think I'm going to be sick. In a quick gesture, the maid brought a bowl under Ayla's chin. Bitter vomit rose in the princess's throat, and the green pottage she'd eaten for dinner spluttered from her lips. A putrid odor of decaying herbs lingered over the bed and gradually diffused in the room. I don't feel well at all. I can't. Ayla's words faded to a mumble. The queen pinched her nose and turned towards the midwife. This should be good.
Take my grandson and look after him. And you,
she said to the young maid over the din of the baby's wailing.
Go fetch the healer from the tower, quick!
Gotta love the pinched nose talking.
Oh my.
The midwife and maid curtsied and left the room with soiled linen and a crying baby. Ayla's mind screamed to respond to Arden's wailing, to jump out of bed and snatch him away from the midwife. Alas, her body refused to react. Okay, who wants to guess that something was put in her food that may have helped induce labor, but also, you know, mess her up? I feel like one of the two. A sharp knock sounded at the door, and Ayla gasped when the witch entered. The old woman wore the same purple cloak and had the same cunning smile that Ayla had seen through the crack in the door when she'd ventured up to the tower. Is the queen that dumb? No, she seems pretty smart and cunning and malicious. So, I don't know. Anything that would do that would risk the baby. I mean, she had said that she had had the same thing, but I don't think they like Ayla too much, so I feel like they might have spiked it a little. I mean, I'm just guessing. I have no idea. Kay suspects they'll try to get rid of her now. Yeah, she's going to end up in the forest here pretty quick. Baby's born. What use is there for her? As they would think of it. Let's see. Ayla grabbed the sheet and pulled it up over her shoulders. Is the babe in good health? The witch asked, sweeping away the sheet and feeling Ayla's stomach.
I told you to go easy on the potion.
Huh? She switched her glare to the queen.
How much did you give her?
Not enough, it seems, but the babe is fine.
That's the main thing. Does the king know of all this?
Of course he does. Besides, what does it have to do with you? Despite her foggy head, Ayla grasped what was going on. Why she'd given birth a month too soon, and why she'd vomited.
You two!
Ayla shouted, wiping cold perspiration from her forehead.
You had it all planned, didn't you?
She sat up and pointed an accusing finger at the two women.
I heard you both conspiring in the tower. At first I thought the potion was for Sybil, but it was for me.
The queen laughed.
You evil pair,
Ayla screamed.
I want my baby.
The witch stormed up to Ella and slapped her hard on the cheek.
You're getting hysterical, and we don't need that.
Then, turning to the queen, the witch asked,
What are you going to do now?
Leave that to me. Now, get back to your tower and tell Bodis to enter. See, I frickin' knew it. They spiked her meal, and she gave birth immediately. Well done, Redthorn. Messing with the pregnant woman's body messes with the fetus. Yes, and the fetus did greet us too soon. Race number 14 is about to begin. 60 seconds on the clock. Good luck. The witch swirled her dark cloak around her thin body and stepped outside. You called for me, Your Highness, the hunter asked. Ayla focused on the intruder. Built like an ox, the man approached with determined steps, shoulders back, an expressionless face. He raised a tanned hand and brushed back a strand of gray streaked hair escaping from his braid. Your Majesty. After a low bow, he stood legs spread wide, one hand on the hilt of his dagger, waiting for instructions. Ayla pulled the sheet higher over her body. Olvander had said the queen called for him when she had a special mission to be carried out.
Take her away, and do what you have to do.
Ayla stiffened under the weight of the queen's words. Surely she must have misunderstood.
What do you mean?
Ayla blurted. She didn't like the gleam in the hunter's eye. Bodis bowed a second time while the queen reached down and pulled off Ayla's wedding ring.
This belongs in the family,
she mumbled.
And you no longer are.
Thalia slid the ring into one of her pockets. Then, with a swish of her gown, she turned and headed to the door.
Goodbye, Ayla,
she called over her shoulder.
How unfortunate you died in childbirth.
The hunter approached the bed, and Ayla let out a deafening scream.
Get away from me!
Her words rang off the walls as she kicked out, but all her energy had been drained during childbirth. Even when she managed to hit the hunter, her punches did nothing to discourage him. Bodis grabbed one of her feet and started to drag her off the bed. Ayla kicked out with the other and landed it full on the man's nose. Good one, Ayla. The hunter shook his head and grabbed the young woman by the waist. Bile rose to the back of Ayla's throat when she caught the smell of wet hay and the acrid scent of his skin. "Leave me alone!" she yelled. Bodis took her face in his hand and squeezed. "Shut it!" he hissed between gritted teeth. Tears of pain and fury trickled down Ayla's cheeks. She was alone with the hunter, and no one could rescue her. In one swift movement, Bodis hauled Ayla off the bed and tossed her over his shoulder like a sack of wheat. Ayla let out a painful scream. The impact of her stomach against his shoulder increased the already nagging pain from childbirth. Even though she had no hope of getting away, Ayla wouldn't go down without some sort of fight. In one last desperate attempt, she raised her head and sank her teeth into the hunter's shoulder. The man growled, pulled Ayla off his back, and punished her with an open-handed slap across the face. Bright stars danced in front of the young woman's eyes as she swallowed a sob, and Bodis, once again, heaved her over his shoulder. The last thing Ayla saw before passing out was the dust flying up from the back of the huntsman's boots. Oh dear. And then there was a break in the story. Is this supposed to feel like Snow White? I feel like it has some similarities to the fairy tale princess kind of themed stuff. But I feel like they all copy each other in one way or another. It's possible that it could have been part of the inspiration. Not too sure. Race number 15 is getting underway. Bing bong. Race number 15 starting shortly. Thank you. All right, the fancy break's over. One more sip of my tea. Okay, maybe two. So delicious. All right. Ayla regained consciousness to the slow plodding of a horse. Wrapped in a cloak with her back against the rider's chest, she swayed in rhythm with the animal's movement. The hooting of an owl echoed through the dense wall of trees bordering the passageway on either side of them. A light fog veiled the forest, making it impossible for Ayla to perceive what lay in the shadows. Gradually, her mind cleared, and she raised a hand to her still burning cheek. "You hit me," she mumbled. The hunter turned his mount to the left and continued his journey. The forest path darkened, twisting its way through the trees. "Where are you taking me, Bodis?" The hunter dug his heels in the horse's sides, and the animal picked up a quicker pace. A groan escaped Ayla's mouth. The sudden movement had brought back the nagging pain in her lower abdomen. Stars shimmered through the treetops, and a feeble wind carried the fragrance of moss and damp wood, which flitted in and out of the young woman's awareness as the foliage grew thicker. A while later, the trees fell away, and they entered a small glade. Enough light shone from the golden moon for Ayla to make out her surroundings. Not that it mattered. She didn't know where they were heading or for how long they'd been riding. "You missed a race? Gosh darn it, Phoenix. What are you doing? There's only one more after this." Under the moon's honeyed gleam, the hunter brought his mount to a halt. He slid Ayla to the ground and dismounted. The woman's legs gave way and she fell in a crumpled heap. While Bodis tied the horse's reins around a thick branch, the idea of running away crossed Ayla's mind, but her legs were too weak to obey. They remained anchored to the ground. I am behind because I had a meeting today. Meetings. Could have been an email, am I right? The hunter propped her up against a tree trunk, and pulled her cloak around her shoulders. Why? She asked, grabbing his sleeve. Why are you doing this? The hunter pulled free of her hold and stood. Please don't leave me, Ayla whispered, her voice desperate. Without a word, Bodis turned, leapt onto his stallion, and vanished into the falling mist. Redthorn, winning with his pink marble. Well, it wasn't work-related. It was a LARP staff meeting. Oh. All right, then. Everybody's last chance to roll their marble. Good luck to you all. Godspeed. Come back, she pleaded. The sound of pounding hooves faded, and Ayla was left in the gloom of the forest. She took a sharp intake of breath and winced at the stabbing in her body. Panting, she pressed both hands on the spot, trying to ease the throbbing. A moment later, it subsided, and she breathed normally again. This one's for all the marbles. Roll, roll, roll your ball quickly down the track. Don't mess up or you'll be stuck. And, your ball will never get back. Just made that up. The young woman gazed down at the blood on her shift. She was still bleeding and at the mercy of the woodland. Each time she moved to get up, she fell back down. It would have been better if she'd been killed outright. In the distance, the lonely cry of a wolf broke the silence, adding to her distress. Ayla shuddered. Nailed it. Thank you. Thank you. True, some of these tracks are dangerous. Indeed. Indeed they are. The wind picked up a little, caressing the leaves in the treetops. She spotted the moon escaping from behind a cloud. Faint rustling, along with the howl of the wind, sent her heart beating quicker. A shadow in the trees pulled her attention away from the looming moon. Who's there? She called. A breeze carried the mist forward. The young woman strained her eyes in an effort to make out her surroundings. Impossible. The mist changed into thick fog, curling around everything in its path. Twigs cracked. The hairs on Ayla's arms stood on end. From nowhere, a deer stepped from the trees, stopping for a moment. It gazed around furtively, then plunged into the fog again, and silence reigned once more. Moist air skimmed across Ayla's face, leaving sweet, cool droplets on her skin. She licked her lips to welcome the freshness. In spite of the cold weather, beads of perspiration purled on her forehead. She tugged her cloak tighter and managed to lay on her back. Another twig snapped, and all of a sudden Ayla didn't feel so brave. But what did she care? She was doomed. Her thoughts spiraled out of control, each one feeding the next in a vicious cycle of fear and regret. No one knew where she was, or if they did, they wouldn't come for her. Sybil was far away, and she desperately wanted her son. Would the Lord not even grant her a last farewell kiss to her beloved babe? I have to say, I can only imagine, like thinking back to when my son was born. Granted, I am obviously not the one that gave birth, but knowing how I would have felt if someone had taken him away viciously, to then amplify that tenfold for a mother that gave birth to her. Like, I remember them, the nurses came and took him and put him in like a warming bed, if you will, so that we could get some rest for a couple hours while they looked after him. But even in that moment, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I guess you could take him for a minute, you know, kind of thing. But even after the few hours that we slept, when I woke up, I was like, can we have our baby back, please? So trying to put myself in the position as I read this of someone that just literally gave birth, had their baby pried away from them, and then left abandoned who knows where. That would be horrifying. Phoenix, well done. You won the final race. But we won't know who's on the podium until after I've read the chapter. So I will keep going. The damp ground seeped into her clothing and skin. Anger, blended with dread, caused silent tears to creep out from the sides of her eyes. She didn't bother brushing them away. Her stomach hurt, her head hurt, and she ached for her son. Dark spots danced in the inner corners of her eyes. Her head lolled to one side, and black oblivion greeted her. When Ayla forced her eyelids open, the fog had lifted. She couldn't have been asleep for long. It was still night. The forest swayed. Now and again it steadied, but then swayed once more. Turning on one side, she began to hum a lullaby, the one her nursemaid used to sing. Lullaby, balmy, she began. Sleep softly now. It was getting difficult to remember the words. A maiden mother? If she can't remember the words, how am I supposed to know what the tune is? Ooh, a dungeon. Join the dungeon. Oh no, it's on your face. It sure is. Let's see. Oh, I found it. What put it over here? Nope. We're just gonna do that. There we go. Much better. Thank you for being so concerned about covering up my face. That was very kind of you. Ayla's vision blackened. The only sound she heard was her shallow breathing, getting weaker and weaker. From time to time, in between humming, she picked up the faraway echoing of forest animals. Then after a while, she gave up singing. How long has she been waiting to die? If only the Lord would quickly end this suffering. The howling of wolves drew nearer, no doubt brought on by the smell of blood. Not long now, and they would appear. A shudder hurtled down her spine at the thought of being devoured by the beasts. She tried sitting again, but fell back down. Movement to the left, and a pair of amber eyes shone in the moonlight. All went silent. Even the wind in the treetops had ceased. The predator crept nearer, its gaze never leaving that of the princess, its paws snapping dry twigs. More rustling, but Ayla had given up trying to move or think. A dull throb pulsed in her lower abdomen while blood trickled down the insides of her thighs. She slammed her eyes shut to block out the horror of the approaching predator. Sorry to leave Arden. Sorry to leave Arden. Oh no, this is a werewolf novel now. Relieved to be finally rid of the unbearable pain. A whisper, inaudible at first, sounded close enough to cause a violent shiver to rack her body. Fearing the worst, she tightened her arms around her body and refused to move. Her pulse hammered with such unrelenting force in her head that it took a while to realize someone was stroking her hair. And that concludes chapter 9. Now, the back of the book tells us that a mystery person rescues her. But the mystery person is always hiding. So that tells me that either A, we won't know who this is for a long time, or we may never know. Obviously, I'm hoping we do find out, but it sounds like it's possible that we might not. All right. First things first. How are we doing on time? Good there? See how long? Perfect. All right. Let's find out who our winners are for this stream's Grand Prix. We'll get their names added to the leaderboard, and then we'll read another chapter after we do another ad break, just to be safe. Sound good? Okay, great. Alrighty. The moment you've all been waiting for. In third place for today's marble race, we have none other than Redthorn. Well done, Redthorn. You've earned a point. In second place, it's Kay. Kay, you've earned another 2 points, which can only mean, and I think we all know who, is in first place. Well done, Purple Pookie, you turtle shell. It's a fantastic marble. Congratulations to all of our trophy winners. Placement winners. I forget what it's called. But good job. Well done. Let's see what the points look like. Ooh! Well, how about that? Redthorn and Kay, you have the same number of points. The only reason Kay came in second, though, was because you had one more win than Red did. You had 4 wins, Red had 3. So that automatically pushed you to second place, but your points were tied. I haven't seen that before. That's a first. Wow. And then Purple, of course, blowing everybody out of the water with 156 points. Geez, Purple. Save some for the rest of us. Well done to you all. I am now going to find the marble scores and update it. So, first place, we have Purple. Purple Pookie. Second place is Kay. And in third, Red Thorn. Good job, everybody. All right, so let's see. Kay, you have a total of 5 points. Dry has 3. Purple has 4. Mama's Mama 2. Phoenix 2. Verda 1. And Redthorn 1. All right. You were on a roll. You really were. Got to get ready for the next show. You're a busy gal. I love it. Have fun at the next show. All right. I'll switch over to some random racetracks while we continue reading. Good night, Kay. Ooh, this one looks fun. And these races I can actually join. Join. Start. All right. You know what? Chapter 10 is actually pretty short, so I don't need to run the ads right this second. Super. You missed the Grand Prix, Super. You could have been on the leaderboard, but you missed it. Do you know what points make? Prizes. Points make prizes. Chapter 10. Ayla woke with her head still pounding. Eyes closed, waiting for her dizziness to pass, she listened for familiar forest sounds. None came. She patted her surroundings, expecting to grab forest moss and dry leaves. Instead, her hands clasped something coarse. Opening her eyes, she found she was lying on a mattress. A fire burned nearby. The crackling of logs filled the room with sweet undertones of the forest, and the warmth brought comfort. Her time hadn't come to leave the world. She mumbled a silent prayer to the Lord. All good, even if I win, I'd probably give it to someone else. Well, it's for the whole month. We gotta add up all the points for the month. She was in some kind of hut, or that's what it looked like. The room was dark apart from the glim dough of the flames casting dancing figures on the walls, adding to the pale light of dawn filtering through a small window. She tried to raise her head, but fell back down, still overwhelmed with dizziness. Flooded with nausea, she closed her eyes and turned on her side. It would be easier to forget everything and to slide down into a void, return to the darkness. Forget everything. Ah yes, the glim dough. Did I say dough? Pretty sure I said glow. Redthorn. Struggling to stay awake, she sensed someone breathing heavily behind her. But dizzy with fatigue, she was unable to turn and face the person. Her stomach cramps gnawed with renewed vigor. Her head was getting heavier, and her eyes gradually closed. Definitely said Glimdo. Well, I was probably hanging out with the boat with the goats on the ocean, so. Where's my baby? Gut-wrenching cries filled the room, and her eyes snapped open. Covered in a cold sweat, she tried to breathe normally. The mattress dipped behind her before a gentle hand caressed her tangled hair, and a wet cloth cooled her forehead. The person, not Super SB, removed the cloth and placed it across the back of her neck. A blessing. Well done, Super. Well done. Ayla turned but couldn't make out the person's features. Two violet irises swam forward, then drifted back in a face that looked to be covered in hair. She'd never seen eyes that color. Velvet blue. The color of her father's cloak back home. A weak smile formed on her lips. Papa? A stray tear trickled out through her closed eyes as she struggled to speak. I'm glad you found me, Papa. And then there was a break in the story. You know what that means? T. T for two. Go! They see me rolling. They're hating. Trying to catch my marble dirty. Trying to catch my marble dirty. I'm going to stop. Probably for the best. Ayla's eyes adjusted to the dim light. She was slowly recovering. How long had she been drifting in and out of sleep? Days? Weeks? Obscurity and pain had swirled in her mind, pulling her down into the bowels of the earth. Too weak to feel anger, she'd only felt sadness. Sadness for having been married for the sake of the prosperity of the kingdom, for losing her son, for being abandoned in the forest and left for dead. During her convalescence, she'd been conscious of calloused yet gentle hands holding hers. Cool, wet cloths had been placed on her forehead, and at one point music floated through the air. She may have been delirious with fever, but she hadn't imagined things. Someone had changed her dirty shift and replaced it with a clean one. That couldn't have been a dream. And she vaguely remembered strong arms helping her to sit up while she drank a sweet liquid from a bowl. That gesture had made her feel protected, comforted. Ever so slowly, she sat up and glanced around. A small stone fireplace faced the bed where she lay. No tapestries hung on the walls. Two simple stools sat next to the fireplace, and a wooden table with a bench leaned against the wall in the far corner. Apart from the bed, she could see no other furniture. Oh, look, I have won. Ha 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 ha. Wow, that was very alien-like. Ooh, which way shall our marbles go? But where we'll end up, I do not know. Barely distinguishable above the pungent scent of rosemary, a faint smell of fire smoke drifted in the air. The pitter-patter of rain against the windows and the dying whistle of wood in the fireplace were the only sounds in the room. It was no palace, but it looked homely. Exhausted, Ayla managed to push back the coarse blanket. The bedding was wet with perspiration, and her loose shift clung to her back and under her armpits. But at least she was free from fever. She'd somehow managed to climb out of the dark hole, holding her prisoner. She forced herself up and slid into a sitting position, regretting the swift movement. Pulling a grimace, she rested against a wooden panel that served for a headboard. And... Or we're gonna watch Super this time. Yeah, she. Go get him, kid. Pulling a grimace, she rested against a wooden panel that served for a headboard and pushed damp, stray hair away from her face. The room swayed like a ship in a tempest, forcing her to lay back down again. She brought her breathing back to normal, but her head still spun. She hated being like this, weak and useless, unable to think straight, incapable of sitting for more than a few minutes. She had to get well, strong enough to rescue her son and return to her father in Syria. Apart from her son, she didn't want anything from Lusania. Absolutely nothing. Memories of this kingdom were enough, and if she could give those up too, she'd do so without any hesitation. Once again, she sat up and edged to the side of the bed, hands flat on the mattress on either side of her legs. Then, one unsteady step after the other, she headed across the soft dirt floor to the door, ignoring the sweat trickling down her neck. Easing the door open, she leaned against the frame and gazed outside. Nestled in a small glade, towering trees surrounded the hut. 2 hares scampered through the long grass leading to the trees, bringing a smile to the young woman's face. Water dripped from the vegetation, punctuating the silence and accentuating the smell of the forest. Ayla raised her face to the sky, immediately regretting it. Overcome with dizziness, she quickly stepped back in and closed the door. Spots formed in front of her eyes, and the room continued to spin. Strong arms caught her. She knew it was him. His unmistakable scent of leather and dry wood filled her senses. He must have been in the hut the whole time. He lowered her gently on the mattress and brought the blanket over her shoulders. Ayla took in long, slow breaths until the dizziness subsided and she opened her eyes. Wow, nobody won that race. Bummer. Where are you? Her voice sounded weak and trembling. A noise from the far corner of the room. A noise from the far corner of the room, and she turned her head to make out a silhouette. The person merged well with the shadows, so well that if she hadn't heard his breathing, she would have believed no one was present. The figure moved, and Ayla caught the outline of an exceptionally tall, well-built man. How long have I been here? She asked, trying to sound brave. And who are you? The stamping of hooves on the mud floor was the only reply. Submerged with fatigue and dizziness once more, Ayla's eyes grew heavy. She fought against lowering her guard, but she didn't have strength. Within the warmth from the fireplace and the weight of the blanket, her eyelids drooped, then sprang open again. Sleep, Ayla. You have nothing to fear from me. A deep, low voice sounded from the shadows. Ayla's eyelids fluttered one last time. How did he know her name? And that concludes chapter 10. So, any guesses? I feel like in order for this person to know who she is, it has to be one of two things. A, it's someone from her home in Syria that happened to be keeping tabs on her. Or B, it's someone from in the walls of Lucania's castle that, knew what was going to happen and took pity on her. But I don't know if we're ever going to find out. I'm hoping that we'll get glimpses and clues. But I guess we'll have to see. We will have to see. This has been good, though. Lots of things have happened in the few chapters that we just went through. Chapter 11, when we come back to this on Sunday, starts us off on page 79. This entire story is just shy of 200 pages. So, we're not too far off halfway. So, yeah. It's going to be interesting. Interesting indeed. All right. All right then. Yeah. Let's take a look and see who we can raid. Lots of people on right now. Lots of people indeed. Gosh. There's a ton of people online right now. It's so hard to pick one. Yeah, you know what? Glad she made it to a house halfway through the book. Well, a hut, at least. She made it somewhere. Some sort of safety, somehow, some way. From someone. That's a lot of sums. What are you up to? And how long have you been on? Ooh, that's a long time. Oh, it's because... Oh, it's his stream anniversary. We have to go raid them. We just have to. A halfway hut? Exactly. Please copy this raid message as we go visit Justin, aka It's Just Raji. He has what looks like a 3-year stream anniversary. So, we have to go say hi. And I almost typed, it's just Justin. He's still going? Yeah, apparently. We're at 9.5 hours. All right. Thank you all for being here. It has been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you and reading. Thursday, we'll be back for some more hell diving. Gonna be fantastic. But until then, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And you have a wonderful night. Goodbye.
Yes, just like Olive.